For 5 years, I had been quietly paying my son's mortgage, funding a life I could never afford for myself. My own home was full of outdated appliances, walls that needed paint, and windows that let in the winter chill. And all this money had gone to someone else's comfort. One cold December morning, I finally called the bank and cancelled the $2,800 monthly transfer, effective immediately. The relief was intoxicating. For the first time in years, my budget balanced. For the first time since Maria had passed, I could afford the little things. Fixing the porch light, buying groceries, even taking a vacation. I gathered all the proof of my support, bank statements, mortgage documents, and watched 5 years of enforced generosity burn in my fireplace. The warmth on my face was sweeter than any whiskey I'd ever saved. The next day, Isabella, my daughter-in-law, called insisting I pick up her parents from the airport. I politely refused. Their audacity was staggering. Less than 24 hours after excluding me from Christmas, they demanded my service. I ignored her calls, unplugged my phone, and for the first time in years, enjoyed a quiet evening. Grilled cheese, tomato soup, a newspaper, simple comforts I hadn't allowed myself. Hours later, there was pounding on the door. Cody Jenkins, his wife Catherine, and Isabella stormed in, shouting about being abandoned at the airport. Their fury was loud, their insults sharp, but I stayed calm. This is my house. Leave, I said. They left, promising consequences and threats of public exposure. I simply closed the door and smiled. 3 days later, the Spokane Review ran a story painting me as a cruel, erratic man who'd abandoned elderly visitors in dangerous weather. The truth was twisted beyond recognition. But I had been preparing my own counterattack. Over the next days, I meticulously documented every dollar I'd given their family. The down payment on the house, kitchen renovations, monthly mortgage payments, furniture, appliances, over $237,000 in total. Every receipt, every bank statement, every social media post showcasing their lifestyle, all laid bare. Christmas Eve, I arrived at their home just as dinner began. I carried my briefcase like a lawyer with evidence for a trial. I quietly entered the dining room and distributed packets to each guest, laying out 5 years of financial support and the lies in the newspaper article. The room fell silent as my evidence sank in. Faces shifted from curiosity to shock. Even their friends and neighbors realized the generosity they'd assumed was theirs to flaunt had come entirely from me. Cody's arrogance crumbled. Catherine's elegance faltered. Isabella's perfect composure cracked. I calmly explained how their claims of endangerment and my erratic behavior were false. I showed them the real truth. Years of manipulation, exclusion, and entitlement, all funded by my labor and savings. 3 months later, reality caught up with them. Mortgage notices arrived. Payments overdue. Foreclosure threatened. I read the letters calmly, untouched by urgency. It was no longer my problem. Eventually, Michael, my son, came to my door, humbled and remorseful. I forgave him, but not the past. Respect and family now had to be rebuilt from scratch, free of entitlement or expectation. I poured myself a glass of whiskey on my back porch, breathing in the spring air. I was finally free. Free from manipulation, free from obligations imposed by greed, and free to enjoy the life I deserved. Real family wasn't the one that demanded your money or your presence. It was the one that truly wanted you there. Everything else was just theatre. And for the first time in years, I was done buying tickets to shows I wasn't welcome in.